Hello, hello, hello. What I'm going to show you today is how to create dirt maps, blood maps, vascularity maps, tears, tattoos using Poser's layers system. So what is layers? Well, let me just show you. I'll start off with this guy. Incidentally, these guys are clothed, but when you start messing about with layers, the preview doesn't update properly, so there's nothing I can do about that. So if I select Michael in the middle, and click on his torso with the cursor. So I'll just move the cursor into the preview window here on the side, and then go to here. You'll see that here's the base material, and I can add, using the plus symbol here, I can add additional layers. So here I've added an additional layer which adds blood to the image, and then here is a transparency map. So why should you do it that way? Well, in the past, Poser vendors used to use Python scripts, yes, I know I'm back on that again, to wire in products such as blood maps, dirt maps, etc. This is from a product called Grunge, I believe, which was an excellent product that would add grunge to any Michael 4 Victoria 4 figure. And it ran a Python script when you clicked on it, and then that Python script wired that map in to the Poser surface or base node such that it overlaid the map on top of the base color map. But unfortunately, with Bondware going to Python 3, that killed all of the products that required Python 2, and they no longer work. But there is a workaround. You could manually create that same effect. If you know where your maps are, you could start messing about here with math and then do blend modes and start recreating the effect that they automatically created for you. Or if you're very skilled, you could use Snarly Gribbly's Easy Skin to do the same thing. However, I think you'll agree that the way that I'm about to show you will be a lot quicker and a lot more versatile. Now, there is another advantage to using layers as opposed to wiring in maps. When you wire in a map, it can very quickly become complicated. Let me show you here. Michael is wearing shorts, and there's a gold brocade here down the side. So supposing I want that, if you look here, this is the bump map for his shorts, and you'll see there's no bump indicator here for the gold brocade. The gold brocade theoretically stands out a lot higher than what's this? This is the fly, the seam, the waistband. It stands out a lot higher than that. And they could either have built that into this map, or they could use a blend map to create that. But that quickly becomes complicated when you have to start working out the relative height of different elements of the same map. Far easier just to create a new map on top. So enough talking, I'm just going to show you how to do it. So let me go back to my pose. Unfortunately, the tool that I usually use to make the cursor bigger is broken. They've just done an update, and the update has killed the thing. So for now, I've just increased the cursor size, and hopefully this OBS captures the cursor at the bigger size. Right, so here's a plain Victoria. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mud map that goes on the top. Maybe she's a mud wrestler or something like that, or she's ended up in the mud. So the first thing I need to do is pick up her texture. So I'm going to click here on her torso, and you'll see at the top here, skin torso. Also, you'll notice that the text here is cut off, and the reason for that is that I'm on a 4K monitor, and if I go up here to edit, preferences, interface, Poser is configured for HD 1080p display, which means a resolution of 1920 across by 1080 down, and 4K is twice that in each direction. So you just type in 2.00 here, and in theory the interface scales to 2 times in every direction, and it works fine, and you can adjust that according to different resolutions you have, like 1440p or whatever. But it doesn't scale the text properly. It doesn't scale the text sizing. So that's another bug by Bondware. Okay, so here I am. I've clicked in the window. I can look up here. I've got the character's name and the body part selected. So the material is for skin torso. And you'll see at the moment we have a base texture, and that's all. And the base is just the default skin color that was applied. This is actually one of the Elite Victoria textures. So what I want to do is I want to add another layer. At the moment, if I click here on base, that's the only layer that exists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this plus, and I've now created a new layer. For some reason it comes in as blue. Maybe that's so it's easy for you to recognize that it's come in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mud map to that. So the first thing I need to do is right click, choose new node, and slide down to image map. So what I'm going to do is use an image map of mud, and I'm going to wire that in by dragging to the diffuse color. And you'll notice over here that the color in the preview is black. The color down here in the material preview will be pink for some reason. Oh, purple. Okay, it was pink last time I did this. Oh right, that's because this is blue. If I change this to white, and for no logical reason at all that goes pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on image source, then I'm going to browse to the source of my shaders. So here I'm going to use mud small, and something very important, I'm going to turn the specularity off. Now I could leave the specular on, especially with a mud map. Maybe I'll just put a little bit of specular on, but I'm going to have to start working out how much specular for the shine of the mud. Well, let's say maybe 0.2, so it's not very shiny. Then I'm going to create another node, and it's going to be another image, and I'm going to wire that into transparency. So at the moment, this is the map that I'm using. It's mud on a white background. It's a JPEG, I assume. And what's happened is this layer 1, imagine it like putting clothes on, that the higher the layer number, the higher up the number of clothes. So this could be the equivalent of a sweater over the top of a t-shirt. So the base layer was the t-shirt, but now I've got the sweater on, I can't see the base layer. So if I want to see the base layer, what I need to do is cut holes in it, and I'm going to do that with the transparency. So if I turn the transparency to 1, now the entire layer is gone invisible, the entire new layer, which is not what I want. What I want to do is show it what parts of that are going to be invisible. So I'm going to choose here mud small M, and that stands for map, and that is the transparency map. Remember, where the transparency map is white will show up, and where the transparency map is black it will be invisible. So now you will see there's some mud splatters on there. Now there's one more that I can create for this. This would work better with I was going to say it's going to work better with Firefly, but I won't displace it, I'll bump it. So what I'm going to do here is create another map. This was originally a displacement map. With Firefly rendering, you get what's known as microfacet displacement, and it's a lot easier to bump. But because Superfly, which is my preferred renderer, doesn't have microfacet displacement, I'm going to wire it into the bump map instead of the displacement. You could bump it, but I'm not going to. So if I now go to this character and render just that torso, you should see, obviously in the preview you can already see that the mud's on there, but you should also see that the bump map that I've added is added a little bit of depth to that. So it's a whole new layer on top. You can very, very subtly see that there. So all I need to do now, and this is the wonderful thing of Poser's cut and copy and paste. So I'm on torso. I go to layer 1. Now I'm going to marquee select. So I'm left dragging here. So I've selected all of those. I'm going to do copy. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to work through all of the body parts that I want the dirt on. So face. And then I'm going to add a new layer. Then I'm going to click on the Poser surface menu bar, and I'm going to do replace. I won't do nipple for now because it's hidden by the speedo thing. Add a layer, select, replace. So these are all of the skin layers. Hip, add a layer, replace, neck, add, select, replace. As you can see, it's really quite quick to do. And the great thing is that this technique can be used to apply to any, okay, torso, I've already done that, I believe, so let's keep on going. It can be added to any figure of the same type, so Victoria or Michael, actually, this will apply to, oh, I didn't replace that time, I just did paste, replace, foot, add, replace. I'm not very good at talking and doing. I need concentration, a bit single track. Here we go. Replace. It's not updating. It's I'm afraid Poser is really broken. Wouldn't have thought it possible for a new publisher to break it worse than it was already broken, but Bondware has definitely managed to do that in spades. Fortunately, it works enough to be usable, but they really need to have a team of people on this. I think that's always been the problem, that Poser is, okay, that's all of the skin, but you see it's not updating in the preview window. But if I now do a render here, I see only a face is done. That's a bit arbitrary. And now if I do that, and you also see her clothes are invisible as well. Again, once you start messing about with layers, everything goes out the window. So there you go. So just by having exactly the same grunge map, so it was a single map, but I applied it to different body parts. If you're really bothered, you might change the scale of it, because it's a different scale on her torso than it is on her arms and it is on her face. But you'll see that's more than good enough for most purposes. And what I could have done is increase that bump map, or even work out how to put it into the displacement map. Remember, if I'm going to displace it, I need to start subdividing my character's mesh, which then quickly makes everything a lot slower. So just to go back to my original rendering, I've got 4 characters here. I've got a mud map, a dirt map, a blood map, and a tattoo. So let me just quickly render that again, because it seems to have deleted the previews. Just quickly render their torsos for you to see. So these 3, mud, dirt or dust, and blood, are all part of the same package from, I'm fairly sure I got it from Daz, called Grunge. And as I say, they all broke when Bondware changed the version of Python. But so long as you know where the maps are stored, you can recreate them manually. Again, because the layered map can have its own reflectivity or specularity settings, this blood here is quite raw looking. I could set the specularity really quite high here, and it would shine as if he's really been rubbed raw. Here with the dust, I don't want that to have any specularity at all, although it actually has some, which is why it kind of looks grey and silvery instead of just dusty. Another thing is, with this character here, it's unrealistic for him to be completely gore covered like that, unless he's some kind of devil character or he's come from hell or something. So what I might do is I would save this texture with the blood map on top. Then I'd add his original texture to take it back to where it was. Then I'd render my scene with that. Then I'd add my new multi-layer texture and render that. And then in Photoshop, I'd just manually brush on the part of the texture that I wanted to show through. Okay, so last thing to show you here is this tattoo. So there's so much more to this layered functionality. The layered image editor and the layers in Daz Studio are one of its very useful features, but few people really use Poser's layers, and it's really an excellent feature. So here she's got a tattoo, she's got a normal skin and then just a tattoo on her torso here, and exactly the same thing with layers. So in the past you used to create tattoos by creating a tattoo and having transparent background. So then you'd save it in a format such as PNG, TIFF, or Photoshop. Personally, anytime I'm working in 2D images to bring into Poser, I always use Photoshop format because it's editable. That's the PSD format. The files are a little bit larger, but nowadays with hard drives so cheap, I think I'm hovering somewhere between 40 or 50 terabytes of hard drive space, so I really don't care about 50k more for a Photoshop file. So let's just go over here. So here's the image, and how did I get that? I just did a search on tattoo design, and then in Google clicked it to images, and here it is, the second image here. Downloaded that, loaded it into Photoshop, and now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to need to take this. I've loaded the torso for this character, it's called Felony, and just for positioning I want to take this tattoo and I want to put it on that torso. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I need to make the background transparent. So I'm just going to click the magic eraser tool here, which is the bottom of the 3 eraser tools in Photoshop. And I'm going to make sure that the contiguous is turned off and the tolerance is turned to 32 or 64, depending on how sharp these edges are. By which I mean how sharp these edges are. Sometimes there can be a lot of blur on the edges and then it doesn't come across properly. Then I'm going to do Control A to select everything, Control C to copy it. Now I'm going to go to this image, Control V to paste. Now I'm going to pick up the move hand, and I'm just going to place that somewhere in the middle, using the Felony thing as a positioning guide. Now I'm going to turn the background image off, and I would now save that. So I don't need the background visible. By saving it in this format, it can then be applied to any other male or female figure based on the Michael 4, Hero 4, Freak 4, Victoria 4, Stephanie 4, David, any of those people based on the same geometry, this will be able to work on. So I'll then save that, and now there's one more thing that I need to do. I'm going to create a new layer, so I'm going to click on this base layer that's invisible down here, if you can see, and then I'm going to add new layer above it, and I'm going to fill it with white. Now I'm going to flatten this down. So I'm right clicking on the base layer, I click flatten image. Be careful at this stage that you don't accidentally save on top of your original Felony thing. And now Control I does an invert color. And now I'm going to save that. So remember, where it's white, so this is my transparency map. Where it's white will be visible, where it's black will be transparent. So obviously, if this was a color image, that would be, well, I mean, it wouldn't be more important. It'd be equally as important, but it would be more apparent. So now I've saved that. So I've now got a transparency map, and I've also got this tattoo color, which is like a tribal black on white. And now all I do is I go into here, go to the material room, select her torso, and now I'm just going to, I've already created one here, so I'm going to click to show you the layer. In this case, I only created 2 image maps because I don't need to displace it or bump map it. It's going to be flat. And I haven't put specular on there, but again, you could if you wanted to. So here's my stomach tattoo image, the white, black on white. And here is my transparency, which is white on black. And when I now render that, even though the preview is low resolution, you'll see you get a nice high resolution tattoo there. So really excellent. You could apply that to any body part. You could scale a tattoo. You could shove it on the arms, legs, anywhere you want, using the same technique. I will actually do a very, very brief tutorial at some point to talk more about creating tattoos and stuff. But for now, I just wanted to show you the basics of using Poser's layer system, which again in the material room is here up in the top corner. One final thing, by the way, I'll just click on her torso, go to my tattoo layer here. If you do want to get rid of that, click the minus up there, and now it's gone. Now I did notice something interesting. With these textures that I've created in layer 1, the base layer can be changed independently in your material room here. If I now double click to add a material to, a skin material to one of these figures, to one of these female figures, the skin material will apply only on the base material. It won't affect the layer 1 that we've created. So supposing you're maybe just want to change, you've tried out a skin material and then you've gone to this trouble to create the dirt map on top, or blood or mud or whatever, and then you've decided, oh, actually I prefer a lighter character, a Latino character, a black character, whatever, you can still change that without damaging all of your work that you've already done. So there you go, guys. I'm really happy with this, so hopefully you will find it useful as well. I think it's one of Poser's more useful material room features, and I'm sure that you will too once you start using it. And bear in mind also that you can also apply this not just to characters but to anything that has material. So it could be could be furniture, could be a sign, maybe you put a poster on a background, could be, say, an item of clothing where you add, say you've got a t-shirt and you want to add a graphic on the front of the t-shirt, stuff like that. Really is incredibly versatile. So hopefully you found that useful, and I will speak to you again soon.